Well, good evening, everybody. I hope that everybody's well tonight. So this is a roundtable event 3 that I didn't expect was going to happen actually, because I didn't have a guest lined up for this evening. However, 10 minutes after Gem Panda last night did his presentation, I got a message from John, Quantum Eraser, and essentially John wants to put a counter claim, or his presentation in regards to Gem Panda's claim that we went to the moon. So, without further ado, John, are you there, mate?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. And you're ready to present, I assume?
Yes, just let me know when the screen's up and give me the go.
Okay, I'll put us on countdown and I will transition to you and the floor will be yours. And away you go, John.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Out of respect for Ranty, these are the colorful expletives I removed from the presentation and won't be using today that aptly describe Jeremy's intellect and character. They are half-wit sissy, crayon muncher, schmuck, no-depth wiki discover, parroting pretender clown muppet, daft numpty, tosser, Burke, Elmer Fudd, senile git, wanker, dozy duffer, Mr. Magoo, plonker, nutter, twat, sod, and blighter. So if you tuned in to hear these or see these, I want to apologize right now. That's not going to happen. So let's start out with Gem's outro. This actually took the longest, and we'll get into the debunking presentation, which is just a few minutes. So Gem's outro, speaking to the audience. This is just a collective poisoning the well fallacy. That's all it is. No substance. And you'll see by the statements that we go through here. So, Jeremy, already you have decided on your personal refutation. So, Jeremy, do you have special mind powers so as to divine what the audience, that is hundreds of complete strangers, have decided already? I mean, what about the people that watch the show after the live show? Or what about the people today? Or the people this week that watch it? You already know what they're going to do? What is that, special Evo mind powers? Have you considered carnival as a vocation, sir? And how is this a personal refutation or a personal issue? I'm not getting that. It's kind of clumsy. Maybe you can explain that to us when you come back on. Second comment, Jeremy. It probably amounts to a single word or phrase. Again, divining complete strangers' thoughts, eh? And perhaps all it takes to refute a case is a single word or phrase. For example, the case is phlogiston, the refutation is oxidation reactions. Well, this has enough cowbell right here to pummel phlogiston into the incoherent oblivion. So what's your point? The next one, Jeremy. So just shout CGI and no further refutation is needed? So your divining powers have let you down again. We'll see that momentarily. What I'm thinking, you're going to have to get on that space-time bandwagon and go back and try to hone in these special mind powers, because the first time you evolved isn't working out too well. You're going to see that here in a couple minutes. So just ignore the repeated scientific experiments? You didn't provide any scientific experiments, Jeremy, so there's nothing to ignore. Jeremy, so just ignore the logical impossibility of a hoax? What in the world? Post the syllogism that invalidated it, right? You didn't provide, there's no substance to these comments here. They're just declarations. So, pro tip, can't you guys at least try and present some cowbell? I mean, just fake it or something. Just make stuff up. I mean, this is preposterous. What were you expecting to achieve with these? Do you think people are scared or something? This is absolutely worthless. So on to the presentation. Gem's presentation was completely bereft of scientific evidence. Zero. Nada. Number 2, the moon trip through the vacuum of space directly violates the second law of thermodynamics, that's the laws of entropy, and Boyle's gas law. Traveling through a medium in Narnia, Jeremy, all I need do is debunk the medium in which the purported trip took place. For example, if someone posts images as evidence of the existence of mahi-mahi, but it is known that mahi-mahi can only survive in seawater, then all I need to debunk the mahi-mahi analog moon landings is debunk the existence of the medium, seawater, analog the vacuum of space, and the mahi-mahi moon landings go bye-bye, fall down, go boom-boom. So say bye-bye. How can you have a vacuum, outer space, attached to a non-vacuum Earth, without a physical barrier in the same system simultaneously, without bludgeoning to a bloody pulp the laws of entropy, the second law of thermodynamics? From the entropy site .oxy.edu, gas expansion into a vacuum, mixing of ideal gases or liquids, diffusion, effusion, colligative effects, and osmosis, each fundamentally involves an increase in entropy. Due to increased dispersion of energy with no change in total energy in the case of ideal substances, due to a greater number of microstates for the particular system involved. Again, from the entropy site .oxy. At any pressure, ideal gases will spontaneously flow into an evacuated chamber, spreading their energy of their molecular motions over the final larger volume without any changes in temperature. And this final larger volume is 3.58 times 10 to the 80th cubic meters. Incomprehensibly massive. You're toast right here. So your medium's over. By the way, if your theory is found to be against the second law of thermodynamics, which yours definitely is, I can give you no hope. There is nothing for your theory but to collapse in the deepest humiliation. That's from Arthur Eddington, The Nature of Physical World. Number 2, Boyle's law, or the pressure volume law. See this thing right here. This is your huckleberry. In these 3 simple words, pummels your fairy tale religion into the incoherent oblivion right here. Boyle's law, and this is from Penn State, Boyle's law, or the pressure volume law, states that the volume of a given amount of gas held at a constant temperature varies inversely with the applied pressure when the temperature and mass are constant. That is, V, volume, is proportional to the inverse of P, right? See this V right here, right? Volume. So Jeremy, question, how can you have volume without a container? From your alma mater wiki, volume is the quantity of 3-dimensional space enclosed by a closed surface. Bit redundant there. For example, the space that a substance, solid, liquid, gas, or plasma, or shape occupies or contains. Volume is often quantified numerically using the SI-derived unit, the cubic meter. The volume of a container is generally understood to be the capacity of the container, i.e. the amount of gas or liquid that the container could hold, rather than the amount of space the container itself displaces. From your butt boys at NASA, speaking to gases, the molecules are in constant random motion and frequently collide with each other and with the walls of a container. Because the molecules are in motion, a gas will expand to fill the container. Since density is defined to be the mass divided by the volume, density depends directly on the size of the container in which a fixed mass of gas is confined. But I understand. Let's not let a little thing like the outright bludgeoning of 2 natural laws, one being the principal pillar of the whole of physics, the second law of thermodynamics, get in the way of something that confirms our bias. that willfully blind allegiance to the spinning ball space monkey religion. The prosecution rests. This is the end of Gem Panda's case, specifically, and generally, the end of the dignified and knighted heliocentric sun-worshipping spinning space monkey religion. It's over right here. We don't have to go any further. The whole religion collapses. P.S. It's been 6 friggin' weeks that I've been requesting and patiently awaiting support and demonstration for your claim of birds humping. You know, the natural experiment, Jeremy. You remember those? These, getting their freak on, right? This is what we're waiting for from you. So how many more weeks is it going to take? I must have posted a message to you at least 30 times over the past 6 weeks. All I get is crickets. What are we going to do? Crickets humping? While we're still young, sir. So, my outro. After this complete and utter annihilation of your 2015 piss flap Star Trek fallacy here, Jeremy, you must be gutted, son. You must wish that you were of me. Dell 2019. Thanks for your ear. Have a nice day.
Okay, Quantum, if you want to stick yourself on mute there, mate. Right, okay, so we've heard Quantum's response to Gem Panda. Not particularly pertaining to the moon landings specifically, more to do with the laws of entropy and how that the medium itself would have been impossible to get to. So slightly different, but you've called out Gem Panda, so we'll roll with that for now. Okay, so 5-minute break, guys. I'm going to play a bit of music. When we come back, we'll take some questions from the audience. So line them up, get them all put in the side chat, say what you need to say, and I will put them to Quantum Eraser to answer on your behalf. Just bear with me, guys. Okay. John, are you there still?
Yes, sir.
Right, okay, well, I can see that the chat is absolutely lit up. I think everyone wants to have a little word with you there, John. Can I start with Gem Panda? Okay, so he got his question in first, and obviously, because you wanted the title to be Debunking Gem Panda, it's only fair to put his question to you first. So it is, I would like to ask Quantum Eraser a question. Why does he continue to pretend that I have not provided the examples of natural experiments that he keeps saying I haven't?
Because he hasn't. I need the observed natural phenomena, hypothesis, and the experiment. Independent variable, dependent variable, and control variables. That's what I need, not a paper. I need those written out. If you're going to provide a paper, then you need to cite those attributes in the paper. He hasn't done that. Still waiting.
Okay.
And I noticed you didn't say anything about the presentation against your presentation, right? Jeremy. Why didn't you do that, sir? You know what they call that in poker? It's called a tell. Duh. That's it.
Okay, so the Rumpus does have a point to make. It's not a question, but it's QE, that was a presentation free of content, other than a few quotes about entropy which you don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Wow, that's substance filled right there. Congratulations, Rumpus. My air is not the atmosphere. Rumpus 2019.
Okay, wow, we have so many comments. So bear with me whilst I find something of interest for you specifically.
Take your time.
Yeah, no worries. I feel like everyone wants a piece here, so I just want to pick the. It seems like Glowbuster's in and people are wanting to speak to him at the moment. So let me just find something specifically for you.
Do they not want to know my favorite color?
Go on. What is your favorite color?
Because that's about the depth of the questions I've been getting so far.
Okay, right. So Gem Panda says his presentation did not address his presentation.
Yes, it did. It addressed the medium. They have to go through the medium to get to the moon. I already explained this to you with the mahi-mahi. What was particularly confusing about that explanation?
I'm going to have to side with Gem Panda on that, I'm afraid.
Really?
Yeah, because it specifically didn't address his moon landing. I know the vacuum of space and getting there is the issue. And I had a feeling that's where this was going to end up. But essentially, his presentation was about proof that we went to the moon, and you didn't specifically address each individual point he put. But okay,
I don't have to.
Okay.
I don't have to. The entire medium is bunk. I don't have to. I chop it off at the roots. It's over.
The Rumpus. Ask QE whether he thinks that if a force were acting on the molecules of the atmosphere, that would prevent them from escaping into outer space.
Yeah, he's appealing to fairy tale gravity again. Let me say this. Let me make it clear. I don't care. You can have Newtonian gravity and Einsteinian gravity at full force. You can have them both. It will have no effect whatsoever on entropy. Thank you.
Question. Are Quantum Eraser and Bob Nordell part of the hashtag same team?
We used to be.
Okay. So that was a question from Flat Earth Reset. Question. Can you ask QE why he used a straw man argument to disprove space? Space has measurable presence, so that there is no pressure next to a perfect vacuum. It's a pressure gradient.
First of all, he doesn't know what a straw man is. I talked about the vacuum of space, dealing with the vacuum of space. That's tantamount to saying that talking about hydrogen and oxygen having nothing to do with water is a straw man. So that's ridiculous. His next point was gas pressure gradients. Well, that's begging the question, because he's not answering the question. Which comes first, gas pressure X or gas pressure gradients delta X? There can't be a delta X before there's an X. Simply. Thank you.
Also, okay, so Cosmic Surfer is asking me a question, but I suppose I'll ask you the question because you're the panelist. So, does anyone have proof of this so-called vacuum, or is it just another fudging?
Yeah, there's no proof. Nature abhors a vacuum, sir. So you're not getting a vacuum in nature. Not a chance.
We have Ask QE what experiments he has done other than observation. Otherwise, what he claims is just more blabbering.
None of his business. Next.
Okay. Right, let's see. We're still waiting for more questions to come through. Gem Panda, I'd like to see if you've got a response to what you said before there. Right, okay, so what about the radio transmissions recorded by amateurs and the radio genometry made with them? So what
Are you asking?
Yeah, so basically Gem put a video, in his video, he said that the radio transmissions were recorded by amateurs. So he's asking you, how come those radio transmissions were picked up by amateurs?
Picked up by, well, radio transmissions, it didn't validate where the radio transmissions were coming from. Right? I mean, what kind of question is that?
It's their question, John. It's their question. They get a chance to grill you here.
Yeah. I understand that they can ask questions, but they're substanceless. I mean, come on, guys.
From the rumpus, so QE is arguing that a force acting on the molecules of the atmosphere will not have any effect on their movement. Does he know that forces by definition will affect the movement?
Which forces might that be?
Okay, so we'll see what he comes back with that. So, can you ask QE why satellite signals such as GPS signals show a receiver position dependent Doppler frequency shift? Thanks in advance.
Yeah, satellite signals. About 3.5 years ago, Robert Bassano and I exposed this satellite nonsense. This is what I'm talking about. These are 2015 arguments. Just go to Robert Bassano's channel and look for satellites or on balloons, right? And there's your answer. We might, you know what? We might do something about that this week. I might pull it up and go through that. So that's it.
Okay, just waiting for a few more questions to come through. Why in a vacuum does a feather and bowling ball fall at the same rate as they are both different size, weight, shape, and density?
I'm not concerned because that's not natural science.
Okay. Gem Panda, I provided multiple examples of natural experiments relating to the breeding habits of birds in my video.
God.
Debunking you again on his channel. Any response to that?
You couldn't debunk a soup sandwich, Jeremy. Providing papers with the title is not providing experiments. I need the natural phenomena observed. This is science, right? Natural phenomena observed, that's your dependent variable. Then I need the hypothesis that has the independent and dependent variable in it. And then I need the experiment, scientific experiment, that has the independent, dependent, and control variables and the test, right? Do you see the difference between that and a title of a paper you Google? Okay? Thank you.
Okay, so question. Why does it take 2.6 seconds to bounce a radio signal off the moon? Done it personally many times by David Gregory.
They need to validate that it's bouncing off the moon.
Okay, fair enough.
And then he has other problems with validating the speed of light. We ain't going to get into that here. That's outside the scope of this discussion.
Okay, so satellites part 2 from somebody called GPS. Can you ask Quantum Eraser why the Doppler shifts from the satellites show a movement speed of the transmitter of thousands of kilometers per hour? Balloons don't move that fast.
Well, it depends on how many balloons are up there, doesn't it? Right?
Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, it depends on how many balloons are up there in a certain area, correct? I mean, they wouldn't be having to travel that fast, would they?
Okay, that's your answer.
Yeah, that's it.
That's your
Yep.
answer. Okay.
Yeah, that's my answer. Exactly.
Okay, we have another question from the Rumpus.
Oh, God.
Before we define what forces are acting on the molecules of the atmosphere, we need to establish the principle. Does QE reject that a force will retain the atmosphere?
You have to get specific. We're looking for specificity here. I'm not answering ambiguous questions about fairy tale forces.
Okay, so guys, I'm going to take 3 more questions, and then I'll let the grilling stop. So.
No, I'd like.
Oh, you want to
Ranty,
carry on? If you want to carry on,
Yeah,
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, we can carry on, but try to get questions in relation to the actual presentation.
Okay, so in relation to the presentation, guys, if we can bring it back on track. So we have Quantum Eraser here, who has essentially tried to debunk Gem Panda's presentation that he put forth yesterday by using the entropy, gas pressure next to a vacuum. If you guys have any specific questions upon that to ask him, then I'd like to bring it on track back to that if you can. Okay, so I have a criticism about my own show here. So Bandsaw Bandit says, why didn't you come a little more prepared? Who, me? A little more professional? Who, me? It's a shame you had your shot and blew it. It's a shame for your show. So I don't know whether he's asking that to you or to me, but either way.
Love the specificity.
Yeah. Okay, so ask Quantum Eraser to explain the the pressure gradient scientifically.
Didn't we already just... I thought I just talked about this. The gas pressure gradients, right? What comes first? Gas pressure or gas pressure gradients? That is X or delta X. You can't have delta X, that is gas pressure gradients, without the X. That's our position. Show us gas pressure without a container. As for that question, I already went over that multiple times. They can pull up the Ballbusters presentation concerning closed static systems versus closed dynamic systems. We live in a closed dynamic system. So go to Ballbusters. I can't remember which one it was. It has the title Gas Pressure or a reasonable facsimile of that. There's a complete explanation.
Okay, somewhat on topic, somewhat not. Flat Earth, or FE Vader says, can you ask Quantum Eraser what evidence does he have for saying the ISS is a projection?
What evidence? What does this have to do with the discussion?
Well, I'm struggling for concise questions.
No, I'm not asking you, Ranty. I'm not asking you. I got it. I'm asking the audience. What does that have to do with the subject?
If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. It's not a problem. Okay, so let's moving on. We do have another question. Let me just get it up. I saw it a minute ago. There, where's it gone? Okay, so from Ben Delete, that was it. Can he provide a citation from a reputable source that shows atmospheric pressure requires a container?
Yeah, I just did during the presentation. It was from Penn State. It's called Boyle's gas law, the pressure volume law. You can't have volume without a container. So there you go. Go back to the presentation. You can check it out.
Question for Quantum Eraser. When does the pressure gradient stop, or is there a limit where Pressure will stop decreasing with altitude, with proofs.
Can you repeat the question, please?
When does the pressure gradient stop? Or is there a limit where pressure will stop decreasing with altitude? With proofs?
When does the pressure gradient stop? I have no idea. I haven't been up there.
Okay, guys, come on. Let's get some more questions out, specifically on entropy and gas pressure next to a container, because I know you guys have been saying quite a lot in the side chat. Well, now's your time to ask him.
I don't think they understand the gravity of the situation here, because all I need do, like I explained in the presentation, is debunk the medium, right? That's all I need do. It's over. Do I need to explain that again?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do a little bit more on your presentation, fine.
No, I'm just going to repeat the same scenario again. Let's see if they get this follows. It's quite elementary. If someone posts images as evidence of the existence of mahi-mahi, but it is known that mahi-mahi can only survive in seawater, then all I need do to debunk mahi-mahi, the moon landings, is debunk the existence of the medium, the seawater, the vacuum of space. And the mahi-mahi moon landings go bye-bye. That's it. Can anyone poke holes in that? No, you can't.
Okay, so not the best of questions from Misty, but ask Quantum Eraser why everything else in the solar system is spherical with the exception of Earth.
Begging the question fallacy solar system, and you can't see depth with celestial objects, so they're just circular lights. That's all you got.
Could you provide a definition of the concept of entropy from Pepga Lull?
Of the
a definition of the concept of entropy.
The concept of it. Yeah. In classical thermodynamics, it's the dispersal of energy from localized to spread out at a given temperature. In molecular thermodynamics, it's a change in a system or surroundings or their total from which there are fewer accessible microstates to one for which there is an increased number of accessible microstates. So, that follows with energy concentrated to dispersed, high pressure to low pressure, gas pressure, always in nature, unless hindered, purposely. Is that good?
Fair enough. The Rumpus, again, question. Why won't yourself discuss the principle as to whether or not a force acting on the molecules of the atmosphere would cause them to be retained? Entropy cannot negate a force.
I already explained this to him like 3 times. So,
would you
take my previous? Can he take my previous 3 answers? I don't like to go over the same real estate twice.
But you've not done it on this show.
Yeah, I did. He asked me the same question earlier, 2 times.
Could you say it again?
No.
Okay. Right. Okay, Darkstar, that has no relevance really to the presentation that John brought along. Daniel, it's actually false to even say that. See, I'm not getting involved, Daniel. So again, you're assuming that I need to correct John for whatever he may or may not have said. It's not my position to do that. My position is to just ask the questions and present the arguments of the person, the guest, coming to do a presentation. I have no sway one way or the other. You're not being neutral and ignoring very good questions. Well, Flat Earth Reset, if you want to repeat what you consider as being a very good question, I will ask it. So in your next sentence that you write, I will repeat it verbatim and I will put that to John. Question. From Flat Earth Reset. Are you just assuming a closed system without the same scientific proof you hold everyone else to?
Am I assuming a closed system? Has to be a closed system if we have gas pressure. You can't pressurize an open system.
Is that it?
Yes.
Is that it? Right, okay. Yep. Why is there no increase in pressure inside a dome when gases are produced constantly?
And like I said, it goes back to the cycles. It's a closed dynamic system. There are cycles here on the Earth, not limited to the hydrologic cycle, the water cycle, the nitrogen cycle, right? CO2 cycle. That's why. Cycles cycle.
Just waiting for a couple more questions to pop through. We're not seeing much else coming through. Still not seeing anything, guys. If I don't see anything in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to have to wrap up, so it's on your head, guys. John's here ready to answer your questions. Okay, a question. Physics says entropy actually increases as the gas gets compressed around a planet as the velocity of the particles increase. Do you disagree with this?
Number one, physics doesn't say anything. That's a reification fallacy.
Okay, from the Rumpus. Ask QE how he justifies claiming that you cannot pressurize an open system. An aeroplane is an open system and it is pressurized.
Oh my goodness gracious. He did the same thing on Ballbusters, had it explained to him countless times, right? All you have to do, Rumpus, I'm going to say this one last time to you. For the past 3.5 years, I've been trying to tell you this, right? All you have to do is close off the ventilation systems, right? Go ahead and vent them off. And then you have a closed system. It has no material impact on your argument whatsoever. And the air isn't directly coming into the airplane while it's flying, right? There's a system there to capture that air and then release it into the cabin. You can't pressurize an open system. It needs a container. Gas pressure needs a container. Period. Everyone knows this.
Okay, so from Spurs Chemo, ask Quantum Eraser, what is the pressure amount and how was it calculated at 14.7 psi?
What was the... Say that one again?
Ask Quantum Eraser, what is the pressure amount and how was it calculated at 14.7 psi?
He asked what was the pressure amount, and then he said 14.7 psi, so he already knows that it's 14.7 psi, or 760 torr, right? All they used was a barometer.
Okay, so it was a barometer that was used to calculate it, yeah? Is that your question? Is that your answer?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's see... Okay, so Zana says a tornado is an open system and it is pressurized.
Yeah, yeah, it's in a container. See, you can have open systems within closed systems and closed systems within open systems. Thank you.
Okay. Not seeing any more relevant questions come through, so let's try it again. Another 30 seconds. If we don't get anything through in 30 seconds, I will wrap it up. That's not really on topic there, flat enough, you know? It's really not. You know, I'd like to keep things on topic if possible. I know you guys want to go after John's something rotten, but yeah, Try and keep it on target if you can, please.
Why would they want to do that? I'm a nice guy.
Do you want to answer questions that aren't on topic?
Not really. I mean, what's the point?
Okay. Right, okay. Question from David Gregory. Wow, biased much? Question mark. I don't know, because the chat is running that fast. I literally haven't got time to read every single question. So unless you put QE ... I'm not going to catch up on it. Anyway, can you cite a reliable source that verifies the existence of a dome or a barrier of some kind? That's the 6th time he's asked, so I apologise for not. I'm not going to catch everything. The chat is running at 1,000,000 miles an hour here.
Yeah, it's a necessary antecedent consequent game, right? If you follow this, if it's already established that ribeyes come from cows, and somebody slaps a ribeye down on the table in front of you, then you know without a shadow of a doubt that cow exists. You never have to see it. You know that somewhere that cow's existing. Do you follow the argument here?
It's not for me to follow there, John.
No, I was asking him.
Okay.
I wasn't asking you, Randy. I wasn't asking you, Randy. It's a necessary antecedent consequent game. It's just that simple. To have gas pressure, you must have a container. To have ribeye steaks, the cow must exist. In other words.
From the Rumpus, does Quantum Eraser know that an open system is defined as one which exchanges matter with the volume outside the system? An aeroplane is the same. It exchanges matter with the atmosphere.
Yeah, we already went over this 25 times. An open system is a system that can exchange matter and energy with its surroundings. A closed system is a system that can only exchange energy with its surroundings. So, all you have to do is close off the ventilation system of the plane, right? It's a closed system. There's not air rushing into the plane without humans capturing that or designing systems to capture it and release it into the plane. So that's not a natural happening there, Rumpus. And it doesn't materially change your argument. Go ahead and block the ventilation systems on that plane. Put people on there with gas masks and oxygen tanks. It doesn't materially impact your argument whatsoever. Now it's a pristine closed system. Now what's your argument? You don't have one. That's what your argument is.
Okay. Apparently I'm taking questions from the usual suspects. No, I'm taking questions from when I actually see somebody put in a question. So just bear with me, guys. Let me find a question. So, from David Gregory, so in other words, no, Quantum Eraser cannot provide a citation from a reliable source that a dome exists.
I don't need to see the necessary antecedent consequent of gas pressure needing a container. It's just that simple. I don't need a citation, or butchers don't need citations that ribeyes come from cows. They just don't need it. It's prima facie, apodictic, indubitable.
Okay, so I'm going to allow this from Gem Panda, seeing as we've tagged him in the title. So it's slightly off topic, but does Quantum Eraser feel that presentations laced with abuse and smart-ass, unfunny remarks add to his credibility as a person whose approach is supposedly scientific?
I don't really care what he thinks anymore, right? I don't think it does, especially to pretender clowns, right? They need to be put in their place, so I'm putting them in their place. You're one, Jeremy.
From which one? So Dark Star, that's just an easy question to answer. It's like a closed question really, so I don't even need to ask that. Ninja Man, Quantum Eraser, does he think ballers are getting desperate by now claiming a pressurized plane is an open system?
Yeah, they've been saying that for years. Rumpus has been toting that argument. It just depends on when you catch Rumpus. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it is. It's really silly. Like I said, all you have to do is wall off the ventilation system in the plane. Makes it a pristine closed system by definition, right? Like I told you, air is not rushing into the plane naturally. There's not holes in the plane. They are designed to capture the air by humans. Strictly. Right? Is there, when you fly in a commercial flight, does air come rushing into the cabin from outside?
From Moyokman, question. How did you exclude a force from acting as a container? I can have an open system with pressure. If I spin a test tube at a high rate per minute, or rotations per minute, there will be pressure in the vial.
Test tube's a container, isn't it?
Okay,
no,
so
that wasn't you, Ranty.
No, I know. I know. So again from the Rumpus, ask Quantum Eraser for a single citation that pressure requires a container, and is he aware that he is contradicting science when he claims that the atmosphere is in a container?
From chemistryelmhurst.edu, the pressure of a gas is the force that the gas exerts on the walls of its container. There's a citation. He's seen it many, many times. And I provided one during the presentation from NASA that talked about containers like 4 times in 3 sentences. And Boyle's law, the pressure volume law. You've seen it during the presentation. Time to stop being willfully blind and look at these things. Okay? Thank you.
From Bandsaw Bandit again. Quantum Eraser, if you wanted to be taken seriously, don't you think you should have taken this presentation seriously? And then he asks, don't I also think so? Well, I'll answer my part on that, which is essentially I have no... the guests that come on live and die by their own presentation. That's it. You know, I just provide the platform, they make the presentation. So it's not for me to decide whether or not you think they're serious or not, you know, and it's not for me to judge either. So
well, wait a second. He didn't provide any cowbell. What wasn't serious, Bandsaw Bandit? It's a baseless assertion. Give us some cowbell.
To Sean Hawkins, yes, I finally found out why you were blocked, which was on the Google Plus. And now I can see your comments. There we go. Now what have you got to say? Right, so let's go back to any questions. Lottie, it's irrelevant. Ask Quantum Eraser, how does he explain that when the ventilation system of an aeroplane is open, that it still retains its pressure?
I don't understand the question. Say it again, Ranty.
When the ventilation system is open on a plane, it still retains its pressure.
What still retains its pressure?
The cabin.
Yeah, because the cabin's pressurized because it's a closed system.
I think the point Rumpus was making, or was trying to make, was that there is a ventilation system, apparently, in an airplane that's open. So I'm assuming that what he's trying to suggest there is that the cabin will be open, or have an open access through the ventilation system to the atmosphere outside.
Really?
I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's the way I read it. So, you know.
Hey, what usually happens, you know, when you see these planes lose cabin pressure, what usually happens? The planes start to nosedive and the oxygen masks come out. Unbelievable.
So apparently Flat Earth Reset is going to do a video proving pressure without a container.
All right, it'll be the first one ever that'll falsify the second law of thermodynamics. Can't wait for that one. Can you send it to Ranty? And Ranty, can you send that to me?
Well, I'm sure we'll hear about it. I'm sure he'll tag you in it if he ever does a video about that. Okay, so from John W. Okay, so he's basically defending yourself here because he says that airliners use air from the jet engine combustion chamber, air conditioning unit, and mixing manifold, not an open window.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take two more questions, just two more. So I don't know whether I want to ask. Rumpus has asked quite a lot, really. If I don't get anybody other than the Rumpus, I will ask his. But it seems like he's already had 4 questions answered already. Sean Hawkins wants to do a debate with Daniel Wiley. I will message him and see what he says. Although, Sean, you need to do a presentation first, so you can't just jump in and have a debate. You need to bring your presentation to the table first. Okay, so we're not really getting any other questions apart from just there's 2 questions that keep coming through. So one from Moyuk Man and one from the Rumpus. So I will ask them. So ask Quantum Eraser whether or not he thinks that the aeroplane has a ventilation system which is open all of the time.
Oh my God. Not answering it again. Sorry.
Okay. And from Moyuk Man, so last question here, guys. The test tube is an open container. I could place the test tube in a vacuum at several thousand RPM. It will maintain pressure after the vacuum is pulled. Sorry, will it maintain pressure after the vacuum is pulled?
I only deal with natural science, and when you're dealing with vacuums, they don't exist in the natural world. So, go to an engineering forum or something. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, QE, for stopping by. Is there any... I can give you the floor for 5 minutes if there's anything you want to say, anything you want to plug. I'll leave it entirely up to you. If not, I'll wrap up.
No, I'm finished, but only to plug Ballbusters at 2 p.m. U.S. Central Time each Saturday and 8 p.m. UK time. Be there or be sphere. Thanks.
Cool. Well, thanks very much, John, for coming by. If you want to pop yourself on mute, I will round up now, and we'll just thank everybody for stopping by. I hope I answered the questions as they came through. I hope I wasn't biased in any way, shape or form, and you shall hopefully tune into the next one, which hopefully will be on Wednesday, same time, 6 p.m. And I'll see you all in the next one.